Hey guys, today I thought it would be fun to reflect on some Holy Grail favorites from years and years ago. So I had initially done a Holy Grail product mini series in 2015. Then in 2018, I did a video updating it. And now I want to talk about the products from 2018, see if any of them are still Holy Grails now. But I will tell you, most of them have been replaced. So I'm going to tell you what they've been replaced by. This is going to be more of a chatty video. A lot of product information will be all down below. So first, I did not mention any primers then. And for me, primer is a step that I feel like I always have to do. And I have some that I really like, but it isn't something that is a game changer in a makeup routine. Obviously, something like a foundation will make way more of a difference than a primer, but I will tell you my favorites. So for hydrating primers, I love the Smashbox Primerizer and the Tarte Base Tape Hydrating Primer. For glowy primers, the Becca Backlight Priming Filter, which Becca is no longer a brand, unfortunately, and the VDL Lumi Layer Primer. All four of those hydrating and glowy primers work really well for my oily skin type. They're not too greasy and they wear well under makeup. For pore filling, I really like the Dr. Brandt Pore Refiner Primer. And then I also really used to love the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Primer, which has been discontinued. Unfortunately, that was so nice and thick and creamy, but makeup still applied so nicely over top of it. Then for mattifying primers, I don't have anything that I would consider to be a favorite. I do have a few in my stash that I really need to play with. For the past couple of years, I've been focusing on panning other things. And mostly for mattifying primers, I try things and I think they don't do anything for me, or they're too thick and gluey where my makeup either applies in a patchy way or wears off in a patchy way. So still on the hunt for some standout matte primers, but I do have favorites in the other categories. For foundation, I had mentioned the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation and 1W1 Bone. This was in my original 2015 Holy Grail favorites video as well. And I can't quite call this a Holy Grail currently because I have been panning other things for the past couple years, so I haven't used this foundation in over a year. I definitely want to pull it out and use it more. I really wish they would update this to include the pump. It's ridiculous to have to spend over $10 to buy a pump to go with their foundations. I have a lot of foundations that I really enjoy and some that I would repurchase, but I don't think I have anything that I would necessarily consider to be a Holy Grail. For concealer, I had mentioned in 2018 the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Flawless Wear Concealer. I thought was going to be my new replacement for my MAC Pro Long Wear Concealer for my blemishes, but I told you guys I had just started using it, so I couldn't quite call it a Holy Grail favorite at the time. Well, I still have this more than 5 years later, and this is absolutely still a Holy Grail favorite of mine. This is so good at covering up redness, covering up blemishes. It sets in place without being too matte. It's very long wearing. I have tried other concealers on blemishes and this one is just my favorite. This is also a really great shade for me, one in light neutral. And I can't believe at the time, but I did not mention under eye concealer, and I swear that I was using this in 2018. But the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, my perfect color is 12 in Fair Neutral, and it is brightening without being too white. The original fair shade was a little too pale on me. I have tried so many under eye concealers, and there are other ones that I really like. I really like the Kosas Revealer Concealer and the KVD Good Apple Concealers. Those are probably like runner-ups, but this one is still my favorite. It does give full coverage. It blends nicely. It has like a nice satin finish. It's not too matte or heavy or cakey or too dewy because I do have oily under eyes. This doesn't crease too terribly on me. I just think this is amazing. It's a ton of product for your money. You can get it on sale a couple times a year at Ulta and other places. So this is definitely my Holy Grail under eye concealer. Then for powder, I had mentioned a ton. You guys know I've been a powder girl basically since I started wearing makeup because I am so oily, but my preferences have changed so much. So back then I was setting my liquid foundation with a powder foundation. So that was a whole lot of coverage. So my first love was the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat powder foundation. And then I had discovered the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless powder. The translucent shade was not translucent. It actually did give a good bit of coverage as well. And in that 2018 video, I said that I loved the both of those, but I felt that they were replaced by the Maybelline Better Skin powder foundation. And I feel like that one was so good. It really just looked a little bit more smooth on the skin, not as heavy, but still gave really nice coverage. That unfortunately has been discontinued. But if you are looking for something like that, the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear powder foundation I think is fantastic. I really enjoyed panning that, but for me that was just a phase, so I am not going to be using, at least for right now, a powder foundation or even a pressed powder with coverage. Also at the time I had mentioned the loose powder combo of the Maybelline Fit Me in 5 Fair and the Too Faced Peach Perfect powder. I do still enjoy this combo. I enjoy both of these powders, but it really sucks that with the Too Faced it does oxidize to be too dark and peachy on me, so I have to mix it with the Maybelline to get a perfect shade. And the formula is really good. It's been discontinued as well, but I do have some backups of it, but you will not be surprised here. My new favorite loose powder is definitely the Dermablend translucent loose powder. This does a really nice job of setting the skin. It doesn't look cakey, it looks very smooth, and it is not a mattifying powder, but I do feel like it helps hold my oils in place a little bit. And this is just so simple for me because it's good under my eyes and on my face. I don't have to mix it with anything else. I can just use it on its own. And I also am able to get this half off at Ulta a lot. So this is such an underrated product. It can leave a bit of a white cast on my skin tone. It's fine, and it's nice and brightening, especially for under the eyes, because almost every other loose powder I use darkens my concealer. So this is especially perfect for there, but this does come in a few other shades. And then I don't know why I did not mention this at the time, but Rimmel Stay Matte in the transparent shade is the best mattifying and touch-up powder out there. I have tried a ton over the years, and when I really fell in love with this one, I stopped trying others. It does a nice job of helping to keep me matte, and for a long time it doesn't make my makeup look weird. It's smoothing. I really just wish I would update the packaging, but I would say that these are my two holy grail powders now. I did not mention a setting spray at the time, but these are my two favorites. Now I do love trying out other setting sprays, but for me, it's a product where I don't notice a ton of difference from one to another unless I have an issue with the sprayer or the scent. But as far as like making my makeup last longer, can't tell you what it does, but I still really love the two of these in particular and want to always have these in my collection. So the original MAC Fix Plus, I love the scent of this. It's just a nice light scent. This is really good at helping to melt all of your powders into your skin. It's also a nice primer spray. And then for setting spray, Decay All Nighter is amazing. I've tried so many different alternatives of the Decay setting sprays, but the original is just my favorite. I love the mister on this. It has the perfect amount of intensity for me. So those two are holy grails that I want to always have in my collection. Next, for bronzers, I had mentioned 3. The first being Benefit Hoola. And I have used up a couple of these in the past. I have a backup one. This is still a holy grail bronzer of mine. The fact that I still love it after all these years says a lot. It's looking pretty warm here, but I feel like this is more of a neutral bronzer on me. And it's my go-to for winter time. Has a really nice amount of pigment, blends nicely. This is still a favorite. And then I had also mentioned the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in the original bronzer shade. I've used one up, and this is my second one. I do really like this one as well. I think this is really pretty for springtime, especially. It has a really nice subtle glow. I do still really like this, but I don't know if I would call it a holy grail. And then the third bronzer was my Milani Matte Baked Bronzer in Sunset, which was limited edition. The formula of this was so good, but the color was very orangey. I was able to make it work, and I really enjoyed panning it, but it is not something that, even if it was available, that I would go repurchase just because of the shade. But the formula was amazing. And for some of these categories, bronzers, blush, highlight, eyeshadow, I have so many favorites, but I am having a harder time calling something a holy grail. But I did do a series on which products in my collection would I repurchase. I narrowed down bronzers and highlighters to like 8 each, and I will have that series linked. Definitely go check it out to see more of my favorites. I didn't want to just repeat everything because I do think there's a difference between favorites and holy grails, but my bronzer collection in particular has expanded so much over the past year, and I have so many favorites that nailing down a holy grail is really hard. I think that I am fine calling this one of my favorites in my holy grail because I've been through so many, and this is one of the first bronzers I ever use, and I still really love it. And then I had mentioned some contour products, and I simply do not contour anymore. I have a really hard time finding a shade that looks nice on me, or maybe I'm using the wrong amount of product or brush or whatever it is. It could be a multitude of things, but it ends up looking crazy on me. I'm so fair that I have to be careful with how much product I apply. So now I just do bronzer. Sometimes I will take a brush and a darker bronzer color and concentrate it in the hollow of my cheeks, but a lot of times I'm just bronzing to help me not look like a crazy person. But the products that I had loved years ago, the NYX blush in taupe, after using this for so many years, using one up and repurchasing it, I realized that this is just too cool tone for me. And while I'm fair, it doesn't really work with my undertones and it can look a little bit bruise-like. Then I had mentioned the Balm Bahama Mama bronzer. I think that's a great formula, but this is a bronzing product for someone that has olive skin tones, because this does have a green undertone, and sometimes depending on how much product I applied or my makeup look, it did appear very green on me, which was not cute. So this should just be for olive skin people, so that is definitely not a favorite of mine anymore. And then the other things I mentioned would be the Sleek Contour Kit in Light. I think the formula of that is just okay. And as it started to go bad, it smelled like kid makeup. The highlighter wasn't very good. That one was a little orangey on me. And then we had the Milani Matte Bake Bronzer in Sienna, which is a deeper shade than Sunset. And this one was pretty red toned, and again, very beautiful, but really intense. I had to be careful how much I applied. The formula on those, again, was so good. I would love for them to bring that formula back and just make different shades. I know they have a different powder bronzer, but I'm just not interested in that one. So none of those products are holy grails any longer, and I simply don't even contour. Then for blush, I've essentially replaced all of these. It was the e.l.f. blush in Berry Mary, which is a stunning color. The Balm blush in Frat Boy, Clinique Cheek Pop, and Ginger Pop. And all of those I still think are nice formulas, pretty colors. I just have other things I enjoy more. Then we have my MAC blushes, which I would still say are favorites, but maybe not quite holy grails. So the Mineralized blush in Warm Soul, I have one of the original ones. And then we have the regular powder blushes in Melba and Fleur Power, and then limited edition blushes in Peaches and Cream and Sideshow U. Fleur Power I just don't use as much, and Peaches and Cream is a little pinker than I typically go for, but I really do love Melba and Sideshow U. But I don't think I could consider those holy grails anymore. And again, check out that series on which my products would I repurchase, because I have so many blush favorites, but I wanted to just show you right now some of my holy grail blush formulas. I do have all three of the Bare Minerals bronzers. This one is Kiss of Copper. I have and love all four of the Persona Super blushes. This one is Terracotta. I have several of the new Benefit blushes, but my favorite shades would be this one, Pom Pom, Terra, and Moon. I love the Buxom Wanderlust blush formula. This is the shade Mykonos. I also love Dolly. And I really love the Becca blushes. I have some of the mineral blushes like this one in Songbird, and then some of the more luminous blushes as well. Then I wanted to show some Holy Grail face palette favorites. They're all from Sigma. I love their blush and highlight formula. And this blush palette in Corday Rosa is an absolute must-have. I have this duo from last holiday called Glisten and Glow. This duo from 2 holidays ago, which is Berry Glow. This duo is still available, and you can buy these 2 products individually. And from 3 holidays ago, I have the Rose Glow Cheek Duo. This is Corday Rosa Blush, which comes in a single in this palette as well, but I really love this highlight too. Then for highlighters, I had mentioned the Balm Mary Luminizer, and that is no longer a favorite of mine. I had mine for a really long time, so I ended up repurchasing it, but I got it in a mini size, and I don't know if the formula was just different in the mini or it has been reformulated in general, but it was not as intense and pigmented. It was way softer and was just not the business, which is so sad because it was really amazing. And then I had also mentioned last time that I love the Anastasia Ambrisi highlight. I do absolutely still love this one. I think it's really beautiful, an amazing formula. And this is one of the only more golden tone highlights that works on me, but just in the summer. And again, check out that What Would I Repurchase series, because I do have a lot of other highlights that I love, but these are my 2 favorite formulas. First being from Benefit, Cookie, and Tickle. They need to release more shades because this formula is so good. We definitely need a gold and a copper. So Cookie is a really nice champagne, but it is pretty blinding. And then Tickle is a really pretty pink with more of a warm flash to it. And these are just really nice and metallic, but don't look chunky on the skin. And then the Ofra highlights I think are amazing, really intense and blinding, but again, don't look glittery. They don't emphasize texture too much. They have so many different shades to offer, and I do have other favorites, but these are my top 2. This was a limited edition collab called Milk and Cookies. And then this is a newer shade called The Hills, which is a lighter version of their classic Gold Rodeo Drive highlight. Now on to brow products. My NYX Eyebrow Shaper Wax Pencil was in my 2015 video and my 2018 video. This is one of the first makeup products that I tried, and I'm still using this. And I started wearing makeup in 2010. Like, I started following YouTube and getting into makeup since 2010. So I have been using this product for over 10 years. It has unfortunately been discontinued. I'm on my last backup. I'm going to try some other alternatives. I know there are other brands that make a wax pencil, and for me, this is my favorite product as my first step. I feel like it just makes my brow pencil stick to my brow hairs better. If you're using something like a brow powder, I feel like this would be essential, but I will try to find some other alternatives. But this has done me so good, and I'm sad it's not available anymore. Then for brow pencils, my favorite were the NYX Micro Brow in Taupe and the Benefit Goof Proof Brow Pencil. And the NYX Micro Brow Pencil I still think is very good, but I actually would rather spend a little bit more money and get the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil. So the next one is $10. And the Benefit, if I can get it half off during 21 Days of Beauty, comes out to be around $12 or $12.50, which for me is worth it. I love the formula. I love the shade. I love a precise pencil like this for filling in the front of my brows and help drawing the shape. So this is my new Holy Grail. Goof Proof is a pencil that I do really enjoy. I do have a backup now that is a thicker angled brow pencil, and that is good for like filling in the center of my brows. And I feel like when I use that one and a precise brow pencil in combination, it makes both my brow pencils last longer. But I would be okay just using this and going through it maybe a little bit quicker. So I would not call the NYX and the Goof Proof Holy Grail anymore, but the Precisely My Brow is. And then I also really love the Kosas Brow Pop Pencil. I think I like that one a little bit more than the Goof Proof. It's a similar shape but skinnier, and I actually feel like that brow pencil I can use to line and fill in my brows. It just is like a perfect thickness. I also at the time loved the Lorac Take a Brow Kit in Blonde. This is a phenomenal brow powder formula. You guys know I used up a ton of these last year using them to fill in my hairline, and I just don't use brow powders anymore, although I think that maybe I should try to get into it a little bit more to have more of a natural look. And unfortunately this was discontinued as well. I was able to get mine on sale, but the formula was so freaking good. Then for brow gels, my Holy Grail in 2018 for my clear option was Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. This is still my Holy Grail. I think this really is like hairspray for your brows. I love that it has just like a natural brush applicator because the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, while it has a good formula, has a plastic brush, and I think I just press it too hard on my brows and I end up, you know, scraping away some of my brow colored product I put underneath, and this one is just perfect. Then for my tinted option, I really had loved the NYX Tinted Brow Mascara in Blonde, and I think that one is good for color, but my new Holy Grail would be definitely the Benefit Gimme Brow. This does have some fibers in it, so it adds to a little bit of the thickness in the brows. It also is a much skinnier spoolie, so this one definitely would be my favorite. I have backups of it, and again, I get it during 21 days of beauty, so I don't mind picking a high-end product over a drugstore product in that category. Then for eyeshadow primer, back in the day, I loved the one from Milani, and I do still think that's good, but again, I don't mind spending more. I just like this one a little bit better, and this is in 21 days of beauty, usually once a year. So for my favorite clear eye primer, that would be the Urban Decay Original Primer Potion. I really like that it comes with a doe foot applicator to help apply it. Of course, I do use my finger to blend it afterwards. And then I also really love the Anastasia eye primer because this one has a little bit of a tint to it. So it does help neutralize the discoloration on my eyelids, which is nice, but it's not heavy and creasy. I have tried putting concealer on my lids and I feel like it always looks terrible. Then I have issues with my eyeshadow afterwards, but not this one. This is really perfect. So both of these I think are phenomenal eye primers that I would consider to be holy grails. And you guys know I have been a cream shadow girl for a long time as well. I really used to love the Maybelline Color Tattoos, specifically Bad to the Bronze, and I no longer have those. I have loved them a lot in the past. I think they're good formulas, but I much prefer using a shadow stick. I usually have longer fingernails, so I don't like having to put my finger in a potted type of product because it usually makes a mess. And there are lots of lovely cream shadow stick formulas, but you guys know Laura Mercier is my favorite. I have so many different shades. This one I think is so gorgeous. This is the color Nude Rose, but you are gonna have great luck with any of them. I think that they are so good, very nice and creamy. I like the size because it's easy to apply to my smaller lid space. They don't crease, they last all day. They're great as a base, but you could allow them to set and just use them on their own. Very expensive, but really good. And then I had mentioned the Wet n Wild Single Shadow in Brulee. This is something that I was using to clean up my shadow. I don't think at this point I was using it to set my eyeshadow primer, but I might have been. And I would love to still call this a holy grail, but Wet n Wild went and changed the formula, and it is like a powder explosion when you put your brush in there. It is so irritating. So it is still a great shade for me, and I really like the formula of it. So it's something that I do see myself purchasing again in the future. Right now I'm using a powder foundation, and I definitely do notice a difference, and I prefer using like a cream color shadow. So I will likely repurchase in the future, but I won't call it a holy grail because I'm so pissed off that they changed the formula. And then some of the eyeshadows I mentioned as favorites would be the ColourPop Super Shocks in Sequin and Get Lucky. Those were amazing. I've panned them, and unfortunately I'm just not into ColourPop Super Shocks any longer. I don't know why, because I do still enjoy some single shadows and they're still beautiful, but I just neglect mine. So they're not holy grails any longer. And then for a palette, last time I had mentioned Anastasia Modern Renaissance. I haven't used that in a while. I really do love Burnt Orange and Raw Sienna though. I think those are beautiful matte shades, but the shimmers in there are just too subtle. So I would not call that a favorite any longer. And I have, again, so many eyeshadow favorites for single, small palettes, large palettes. And definitely check out that What Would I Repurchase from my collection series. And the only things that I have selected for shadows would be my absolute holy grail must-have warm tone mattes that I love to pair with other shades in palettes or different single shadows. I am wearing these today. And these are the only things I could feel comfortable calling a holy grail, but I do have tons of other favorites. So you guys will not be surprised. This is Anastasia Birkin, which I use as a transition color, and Bengal, which I use as a crease shade. I love the Anastasia matte formula. It is a little bit powdery, but super easy to work with. And then I have this Aether Beauty Citrine Crystal Quad, and I think the shimmers in here are very lovely as well. But this is a holy grail for this matte shade Midsummer. It just goes perfectly with these Anastasia mattes. Then for a liquid liner, I really loved the Physicians Formula Eye Booster, Clinique Pretty Easy, and the KVD Tattoo Liner. I like them all equally, and I would say I still like them all equally. You guys know I haven't done liquid liner much at all over the past few years. All three of those liners are a brush tip applicator, which is great. I feel like it lasts longer. And if you're getting the Physicians Formula, make sure you get Blackest Black. The original black is gonna look more gray, but still amazing. I would still call them holy grails, even though I don't use liquid liner very much in general anymore. And then I didn't mention any pencil liners back then, but I do have 3 pencil liner formulas I would consider to be holy grail. I know you will not be surprised by one of them. ColourPop Creme Gel liners. I've told you guys that this is a stiffer formula. It will break on your upper lash line, but on lower lash line, waterline, it stays in place very well. The colors are very pigmented. I have a lot of shades I love, but these are some of my most favorite. And I'll have to put the names down below because I cannot remember this off the top of my head, and it has rubbed off. This was from one of the basketball duos. This is an amazing copper, and you guys might know I really love coppery shadows and liners. I had another favorite from Maybelline years ago that had been discontinued, but this is a great alternative. Limited edition shade Rosette, which is a rosy copper that is so perfect. And then I have this beautiful mint Zulu and this periwinkle blue Prance, just some spring staples. So I absolutely love these liners, and I do have several other shades I really enjoy. Another favorite formula of mine would be the Nabla Cupid's Arrow Full Color Stylos. You can get these from Ulta. So I have these 2 more neutral ones that my friend Amanda gave me that she got in a trend mood box. So this is Arrow number 5, which is nice and a little bit more yellowy, and then Arrow number 7, which has a little bit more red in it, but they're both browns with special undertones. Very creamy. They do have a larger tip to them, which again, these are all things I've just put on my waterline, lower lash line, and this just works perfectly. It's creamier than the ColourPop. It stays in place really nicely. Then we have these 2 pastel shades, Mint and Lavender. Then my other favorite eyeliners are the Persona 24-hour waterproof liners. They also come in black and brown, but I have this really pretty metallic liner called Bronze. And there is a little bit of warmth in this one, which is nice because I don't like straight up brown. I want it to be more warm tone. And then this is a matte liner called Plum. Oh my gosh, so beautiful for winter. And these are pretty creamy. You could do a lot of smudging before they set if you wanted to. Then for mascaras, at the time I had mentioned a combination of the Maybelline Colossal Cat Eyes and the Maybelline Falsies mascara. I do think that was a great combination, but I would not consider them holy grails because I haven't used them in a really long time, but I do have a lot of mascara favorites. I'm looking at my empties picture from last year. The Lancome Idole Lash, Smashbox Superfan, Benefit Bad Gal Bang, Rare Beauty Perfect Strokes, and then my all-time favorite is the Lancome Hypnostrama Mascara. So some of those I like more for length, some more for volume. Overall, I prefer more of a wet formula, and I love always combining my mascaras. I always have 2 mascaras on, usually something more lengthening and something more volumizing to get my perfect lash combo. But all of those I would consider to be holy grails. Then we have lip products. I mentioned the e.l.f. Lip Exfoliator in Mint. This is not a holy grail. After I repurchased it a few more times, I felt like the smell was off. Even when I would, buy them, the smell would be off right away. So I stopped buying it, but the texture of it was really nice. But I don't think a lip exfoliator is something that I have to have. Then my favorite lip balm was the EOS, and I did like the spheres back in the day, but I do feel like the formula changed on those, or maybe I just got a bad one or something. So I now just stick to the sticks. Still my Holy Grail lip balm, not too thin, not too thick. Love the scent. Super easy to reapply throughout the day. For lip liners, a Holy Grail at the time would be the ColourPop lip liners. I especially love the shade Aquarius, which I still have, but I now prefer the shade Little One a little bit more. It's a little bit peachier, where Aquarius is a little bit more of a pinky undertone, but still amazing. I love the ColourPop lip liner formula. I have so many different shades. I don't care if the pencil falls out. You just push it back in. Very creamy, easy to draw onto the lips, not a lot of tugging. It might not stay in place as well as something that's a more wooden pencil, but I would rather it be comfortable to my lips and easier to apply. So definitely still a Holy Grail formula. The rest of the products are not Holy Grails anymore. So the Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick in Primrose, MAC Sheen Supreme Lipstick in Asian Flower. I wish they would come back because I wish I had tried the nude shades at the time. MAC Patent Polish Lip Pencil in Kittenish. That was such a good formula. Tarte Matte Lip Surgence and Expose. Still think that's really good, but I neglect it in my collection after I repurchased it. Buxom Flawless Lip Polish in Sandy. I have specifically neglected that shade, but still one of my favorite gloss formulas. And then the NYX Butter Glosses in Creme Brulee, Meringue, Maple Blondie. Still think those are amazing drugstore glosses, but I don't have any in my collection. So I am going to be showing you some of my favorite formulas here. Again, check that what would I repurchase video to see more options and more shades. But my 3 favorite lipstick formulas would be the Makeup by Mario Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Serums. Very creamy finish, and these are a little bit messy but come in a lot of shades, and I love the menthol. Then we have the Buxom Full Force Lipsticks, just a good classic cream. Great coverage, lots of shades. And this one is in the shade Heartthrob. The Mario one was Rose Glow. And then the best matte lipstick formula would be the Milani Color Fetish matte lipsticks. And this color is called Pleasure. I do have some liquid lipstick formulas I really love, but liquid lipstick as a whole is not a Holy Grail type of product to me. For glosses, I have lots that I love, but these are some of my favorite formulas. The Buxom Plumping Lip Creams. I have some polishes as well. I'm obsessed with their different limited edition shades. I'm wearing one of the permanent colors right now, the shade Creamsicle. This one here was limited edition Strawberry White Sangria. And these do usually have like a medium opacity. It's the only sticky gloss that I can wear, but I love that coolie minty feeling. Then the Tower 28 Milky Lip Jellies. I have tons of shades. This is a super smooth, comfortable formula, nice and shiny, not sticky at all, not super long wearing, but I don't mind reapplying often, and they are really affordable for a Sephora product. And then the Rowan Liquid Lip Balms. I only have this shade Charlie. I would love to get more when they go on sale because they're so expensive, but something about this is way better than all of the other liquid lip balms, lip oil type of products. It also has more of a minty scent and feels more like a gel formula on the lips. It is so nice. So guys, I'm sorry I rushed there at the end. I know this was a longer video, but I'm not really surprised that almost everything has changed because a lot of makeup products have come out in the past 5+ years. But I hope you guys enjoy this. I would love to hear your thoughts on these products in the comments down below, and I would love to know if you have any Holy Grail products and what they are. Again, I know I mentioned it 100 times, but don't forget to check out that other series on which products in my collection would I repurchase if you want to see any more faves. And I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.